They don't need to know your next move. Have you ever noticed how people start doubting you the moment you share your dreams? The second you open your mouth about your goals, suddenly everyone becomes a critic. Are you sure that's a good idea? That sounds risky. What if you fail? What if you fail? And just like that, their words start planting seeds of doubt in your mind. You begin second guessing yourself, questioning your abilities, hesitating before taking action. Not because you don't believe in yourself, but because they don't. Here's the truth: the more you talk about what you're going to do, the less likely you are to actually do it. Why? Because talking gives you a false sense of progress. It tricks your brain into thinking you've already accomplished something, when in reality, you haven't even started. So if you want to achieve something big, stop telling everyone about it. Protect your energy, protect your vision, move in silence, because the moment you stop explaining yourself to people who don't get it, you'll finally have the time, focus, and energy to make it happen. Now, let's talk about why keeping your goals to yourself is one of the smartest decisions you'll ever make. Here's why this matters. Let me break this down for you. Most people don't understand your vision because they can't see beyond their own limitations. Their doubts are a reflection of them, not you. Think about this for a moment. How many times have you shared a dream, a goal, or an idea with someone only to be met with skepticism? Are you sure you can do that? That sounds really difficult. What if it doesn't work and you walk away from the conversation feeling a little less confident, a little less sure of yourself? But here's the truth: their doubts have nothing to do with you. People can only see the world through their own experiences, their own fears, and their own limitations. When they tell you something is impossible, what they're really saying is, I wouldn't be able to do that. When they warn you about the risks, they're speaking from a place of their own insecurities. They are not predicting your future. They are revealing their mindset. It's human nature. Most people are conditioned to avoid risk, to seek comfort, to stay within the boundaries of what feels familiar. So when you come along with a big dream, something that breaks the mold, something that challenges the status quo, it makes them uncomfortable. Not because they don't want you to succeed, but because your ambition forces them to reflect on their own choices. It reminds them of the dreams they gave up on, the chances they didn't take, and the limits they placed on themselves. You need to understand this. The opinions of others are shaped by their experiences, not yours. If someone has spent their entire life playing it safe, following the traditional path, and never stepping outside their comfort zone, of course they will doubt you. Of course they will question your dreams, but that has nothing to do with what you're capable of. Imagine telling someone who has never been to the ocean that there are waves bigger than houses. They would call you crazy. Imagine telling someone who has never seen an airplane that humans can fly across the sky in metal tubes. They would think you're lying. That's how the mind works. It struggles to believe in things it hasn't personally experienced. Now apply that to your own life. If you have a dream to start a business, become an artist, travel the world, or do something unconventional, the people around you might not get it. They might doubt you, not because they are bad people, but because they simply can't see what you see. Here's where most people make a mistake. They take these doubts personally. They assume that because their family, friends, or coworkers don't believe in them, it must mean they are wrong. They start questioning themselves. They shrink their goals to fit other people's expectations. They let the fears of others become their own. You cannot let that happen. If you listen to the doubts of others, you will start to see the world through their limitations instead of your own potential. You will start making decisions based on their fears instead of your vision. And before you know it, you'll find yourself playing small, settling for a life that doesn't excite you, just because someone else convinced you that your dreams were unrealistic. Think about some of the greatest success stories in history. Every single one of them faced doubt. The Wright brothers were told flying was impossible. Elon Musk was told electric cars wouldn't work. Oprah Winfrey was told she wasn't fit for television. If they had listened to the people around them, they would have never taken the first step. But they understood something most people don't. Other people's doubts are not your problem. When someone tells you your dream is unrealistic, what they really mean is that they can't see the path. But they don't need to see it. You do. It's your vision, your goal, your responsibility to make it happen. The worst thing you can do is seek approval for your dreams. The moment you start looking for validation, you give away your power. You start adjusting your dreams to fit other people's opinions. You start explaining yourself, justifying your choices, and seeking permission. And the more you do that, the weaker your belief in yourself becomes. You don't need approval. You don't need validation. You need action. Think about it like this. Every time you share your dream with someone who doesn't understand it, you're inviting doubt into your mind. You're allowing their fears to mix with your vision. And over time, that doubt builds up. It slows you down. It makes you hesitate. And eventually, it can stop you altogether. That's why you need to be selective about who you share your goals with. Not everyone deserves to know your plans. Not everyone is capable of seeing what you see. Protect your energy. Protect your vision. Only share your dreams with people who uplift you, who support you, who push you forward. And if you don't have those people in your life yet, that's okay. Move in silence. Keep working. Keep building. Let your success be the announcement, because here's the reality. Most people won't believe in you until you've already made it. That's just how the world works. The same people who doubted you at the beginning will be the first to say, I always knew you could do it once you've succeeded. So don't waste your energy trying to convince them. Don't waste time explaining your vision to people who aren't capable of seeing it. Just do the work. At the end of the day, your future is in your hands. No one else's opinion matters. No one else's doubts matter. The only thing that matters is your belief in yourself and your willingness to take action despite the noise around you. So the next time someone tells you your dream is impossible, just smile. Let them think whatever they want. Because while they're busy doubting, you'll be busy proving them wrong. The more you talk about your goals, the more your brain tricks you into thinking you've already accomplished something. And that's dangerous. Have you ever noticed how good it feels to tell someone about a goal? You say, I'm going to start a business, or I'm going to lose 50 pounds. And suddenly you feel a rush of excitement. The person listening nods, maybe even encourages you. And for a brief moment, it feels like you've already taken a step forward. But here's the problem. That feeling of accomplishment is fake. It's an illusion. Your brain releases dopamine, the same chemical that makes you feel rewarded when you actually achieve something. The problem? You haven't done anything yet. You've only talked about it. And the more you talk, the more satisfied you feel, which reduces your actual motivation to take action. Think about the last time you told someone about a big goal. Maybe you even made a social media post about it. Did you feel a little boost of confidence? Did it feel like you were making progress just by announcing it? That's the trap. The act of sharing your goal can trick your mind into believing you've already started working toward it, even when you haven't. This is backed by science. Studies have shown that when people talk about their intentions, they are less likely to follow through. Why? Because their brain mistakes the act of talking for the act of doing. The more you say, I'm going to do this, the less urgency you feel to actually take the first step. Now, think about the most successful people you know. Do they spend their time announcing every goal before they achieve it? Or do they quietly work behind the scenes, letting their results speak for them? Real success comes from action, not words. Here's where most people go wrong. They feel like talking about their goal makes it more real. They believe that if they say it out loud, it somehow increases the chances of it happening. But in reality, it does the opposite. The moment you tell people, you create an expectation, and that expectation adds pressure. Suddenly, you feel like you have to prove something, not just to yourself, but to everyone who heard you. That pressure can be paralyzing. Instead of focusing on the work, you start worrying about how others will perceive your progress. What if you fail? What if you fail? What if you don't meet their expectations? What if people start asking, hey, I thought you were going to do that thing. What happened? And that's where doubt creeps in. The moment your brain senses potential embarrassment, it starts looking for ways to protect you. It tells you to wait, to think things through, to think things through, to hold off until you're absolutely sure you'll succeed. And before you know it, you've lost momentum. The truth is, talking about your goals doesn't bring you closer to achieving them. Action does. Execution does. Discipline does. And none of those things require an audience. If you really want to make progress, stop announcing your plans. Stop seeking validation. Stop wasting energy explaining your vision to people who may not even understand it. Instead, put your head down and get to work. Imagine two people with the same goal. One tells everyone about it, posts about it, and spends hours discussing their big plans. The other keeps quiet, focuses on the process, and works in silence. Fast forward 6 months, who is more likely to have made real progress? The one who did the work, not the one who did the talking. Because here's what most people don't realize. Talking about your goal doesn't just reduce your motivation. It also opens the door for unnecessary opinions and doubts. The more people you tell, the more feedback you invite. And not all feedback is helpful.
Some people will doubt you.
Some will criticize you. Some will unintentionally discourage you. And once those negative voices enter your mind, they start shaping your beliefs. You might begin second guessing yourself, questioning your decision, wondering if you're really capable. All because you let other people's opinions interfere with your focus. But when you keep your goals to yourself, you protect your mindset. You stay in control of your narrative. You eliminate distractions and give yourself the space to fully commit without outside pressure. Think about some of the greatest success stories. You never heard about Apple's first iPhone until it was already built. You never heard about Tesla's secret projects until they were ready for the world. The biggest breakthroughs happen in silence. The best work is done behind the scenes. So the next time you feel the urge to announce your goal, stop yourself. Instead of saying, I'm going to start a business, just start it. Instead of saying, I'm going to get in shape, start training. Let people notice the results, not the words. Because at the end of the day, no one remembers what you said you were going to do. They only remember what you actually did. Not everyone wants to see you win, and that's a hard truth to accept. We like to believe that the people around us, our friends, our family, our coworkers, genuinely want the best for us. But the reality is, not everyone does. Some people may smile to your face while secretly hoping you fail. Some people may support you in words, but quietly resent your ambition. And some people may even pretend to help while subtly sabotaging you. Why does this happen? Why would anyone, especially those close to you, not want to see you succeed? It's because your success reminds them of what they're not doing. It forces them to confront their own insecurities, their own fears, their own regrets. And instead of using your progress as inspiration, they choose to tear you down. This isn't about being paranoid or assuming the worst in people. It's about recognizing human nature. Most people are comfortable in their routines. They've built their lives around certain beliefs. What's possible, what's realistic, what's safe. And when you come along with a big dream, when you challenge the status quo, when you prove that more is possible, it shakes them. Some will react with admiration. They'll cheer you on. They'll be inspired by your courage. But others, they'll feel threatened. They'll feel left behind. They'll feel uncomfortable. And instead of dealing with those feelings, they'll try to bring you back down to their level. They might do it subtly. A sarcastic comment, a passive-aggressive joke, a doubtful look. Are you sure you want to do that? That seems really risky. What if it doesn't work? At first, it seems harmless. But over time, these small doubts add up. They plant seeds of hesitation in your mind, or they might be more direct. Some people will straight up tell you, that's impossible. You'll never make it. Why don't you just play it safe? And if you're not careful, you'll start believing them. Because here's the dangerous part. The closer someone is to you, the more power their words have. If a stranger doubts you, you brush it off. But if your best friend, your sibling, your spouse, or your mentor doubts you, that hits deep. It makes you question everything. And that's exactly why you need to be careful about who you share your dreams with. Not everyone deserves to know your plans. Not everyone is capable of supporting you. Some people can't handle seeing you grow because it forces them to face the fact that they're staying the same. Have you ever noticed how people love to support you as long as you're struggling? When you're at the bottom, when you're just getting started, they're cheering you on. You got this. Keep going. But the moment you actually start winning, things change. Suddenly, they're distant. Suddenly, they're not as excited. Suddenly, they start making excuses for why your success isn't real. It's because, deep down, some people only support you when you're at their level. The moment you rise above them, they feel left behind. And instead of leveling up themselves, they try to pull you back down. That's why you need to move in silence. The less people know about your plans, the less they can interfere. Work quietly, build in the dark, let them see the results, not the process. Because here's the truth. The people who secretly don't want you to win can't stop you up if they don't know what you're up to. They can't doubt you if they don't know your next move. They can't sabotage you if they don't see you coming. This doesn't mean you should shut everyone out. There are people who genuinely want the best for you, people who will celebrate your wins and push you forward, but those people are rare. Choose them wisely. And for everyone else, keep them guessing. Let them wonder. Let them assume. Let them doubt. Because while they're busy watching, you'll be busy winning. Not everyone wants to see you win, and that's one of the hardest lessons you'll ever learn. At first, you might not believe it. You might think, why wouldn't the people around me want me to succeed? Why wouldn't my friends, my family, and the people closest to me want the best for me? But the truth is, not everyone does. Some people support you in words, but deep down, they feel something different. They feel envy. They feel resentment. They feel like your success is leaving them behind. And here's what makes it even harder. Sometimes it's the people you least expect. You assume that your closest friends will celebrate your wins. You assume that your family will be silenced as powerful. In a world where everyone is constantly talking about their plans, their dreams, and their next move, the person who stays quiet holds the real power. There's something you need to understand. When you speak too much about what you're going to do, you give away your advantage. You invite opinions, doubts, and unnecessary pressure into your life. But when you move in silence, when you focus on your work instead of talking about it, you create something unstoppable. Most people feel the need to announce their goals because they crave validation. They want reassurance. They want to hear people say, that's a great idea, or you're going to be amazing, but here's the problem. Validation from others doesn't build success. Hard work does. Execution does. Discipline does. Discipline does. And the moment you start talking about your goals, you expose them to the wrong people. People who don't understand your vision. People who don't believe in themselves, so they can't believe in you. People who, whether intentionally or not, will plant doubt in your mind. Think about it. How many times have you shared a dream with someone only to hear things like, that's going to be really difficult? Are you sure you want to do that? Maybe you should have a backup plan. And suddenly that fire inside you doesn't burn as bright. You start questioning yourself. You start hesitating, not because you believe you can't do it, but because someone else's doubt got into your head. This is why you need to move in silence. Stop explaining yourself. Stop looking for approval. Stop giving people the chance to weigh in on something they don't understand. Because here's what most people don't realize. The more you talk about your plans, the more energy you waste. Every time you explain your goal, you're taking energy away from actually working on it. You're spending time convincing others instead of proving it through action. Real power is in the work, not the words. The most successful people in the world don't spend time announcing their every move. They just do it. They stay focused. They build behind the scenes. They show up day after day, putting in the work while everyone else is busy talking. And then one day, they show up with results. They don't need to explain how hard they worked. They don't need to justify their process. The results speak for themselves. That's how you win. The moment you stop talking and start working, everything changes. You don't waste time explaining. You don't seek permission. You don't give people the opportunity to fill your mind with doubt. You just do the work. And here's the best part. When you move in silence, people don't see you coming. They underestimate you. They assume you're not making progress. They think you've given up. And then out of nowhere, you show up with something so undeniable that they have no choice but to respect it. Success is loud. The process should be silent. So if you have a dream, if you have a goal, if you're working on something that means everything to you, stop talking about it. Let the results do the talking. Let your actions prove your commitment. Because at the end of the day, no one remembers what you said you were going to do. They only remember what you actually did. The more you share, the more you expose yourself to unnecessary negativity. The truth is, not everyone deserves to know your plans. Not everyone should have access to your dreams, your goals, or your ambitions. Because the moment you open your mouth, you give people an opportunity to influence your mindset. And not all influences are positive. You might think that sharing your plans with others will motivate you. You might believe that telling people what you're working on will hold you accountable. But what really happens, the more you talk, the more opinions you invite. And opinions can be dangerous, especially when they come from the wrong people. Some people won't believe in you, not because your idea isn't great, not because your dream isn't possible, but because they can't see themselves doing it. And if they can't see it for themselves, they won't see it for you. Then there are the people who don't want you to succeed. They won't say it outright.
Outright.
They might even act supportive, but deep down they feel threatened. Your ambition reminds them of their own fears, their own failures, their own excuses. And instead of using that as motivation, they'll try to bring you down. And then there are the doubters, the ones who mean well but don't understand. They'll ask questions that make you second guess yourself. They'll say things like, "Are you sure that's a good idea?" Or "That sounds really risky." And without realizing it, they plant seeds of doubt in your mind. That's why you have to protect your energy. Your dreams are fragile in the beginning. They need time to grow. They need time to develop before being exposed to the world. Talking about them too soon is like taking a seed and pulling it out of the soil to show people it won't grow that way. Instead, move in silence. Keep your focus on the work. Let your results speak for you. Because when you keep things to yourself, you keep control. You don't have to deal with negativity. You don't have to fight off doubt. You don't have to waste time explaining your vision to people who will never understand it. And here's the best part. When you finally succeed, when you finally bring your dream to life, people will have no choice but to acknowledge it. They won't remember the doubts they had. They won't remember the negativity they threw at you. They'll only see the results. So protect your dreams, guard your vision, work in silence, and when the time comes, let your success make the noise. When you talk too much about your plans, you create expectations, not just for yourself, but for others. And expectations come with pressure. The moment you announce your goal, people start watching. They start asking questions. They start waiting for results. At first, you might think this is a good thing. Maybe you believe that telling people will hold you accountable, that it will push you to stay committed. But here's the problem. When you put your goals out there too soon, you invite unnecessary pressure. And pressure can kill your momentum before you even begin. Think about it. The moment you tell people what you're going to do, you feel like you have something to prove. Now, instead of just focusing on the work, you start thinking about how you'll be perceived. What if I fail? What if things don't go as planned? What will people think if I don't follow through? That's the trap. You shift your focus from taking action to managing expectations. Instead of making progress, you start overthinking. Instead of working in silence, you start worrying about appearances. And that pressure can be paralyzing. Most people don't realize how powerful it is to move in silence. When you keep your plans to yourself, you stay in control, but you don't have to explain yourself. You don't have to justify your decisions. You don't have to deal with the weight of other people's expectations. You're free to experiment, to fail, to adjust without feeling like the whole world is watching. And that's the key. Success isn't about proving anything to anyone. It's about doing the work. It's about being so focused on the process that you don't have time to worry about what people think. The truth is, most people don't care about your goals as much as you think they do. They might listen, they might nod, they might say, "That's great," but they're not deeply invested. And yet we let their opinions dictate how we feel about our own progress. That's why you need to move differently. Don't waste energy trying to impress people. Don't seek approval before you've even started. Instead, stay quiet, put your head down, do the work. Because here's what happens when you stop talking and start doing. You eliminate distractions. You free yourself from the pressure of expectations. You create space to focus, to learn to grow without interference. And when you finally succeed, people will notice, they'll see the results, they'll respect the work you put in. But by then, it won't matter what they think because you'll already be winning. Most people don't realize how much energy they waste talking about what they're going to do instead of actually doing it. Every time you announce your plans, you give yourself a small rush of satisfaction. It feels good to say, "I'm going to start my own business," or "I'm finally going to get in shape." You feel like you've accomplished something just by saying it out loud. But here's the problem: talking tricks your brain into feeling like progress has been made, even when nothing has actually changed. This is one of the biggest reasons people stay stuck. They keep talking about their dreams, but they never take real action. They get so caught up in discussing the details, imagining the possibilities, and seeking approval from others that they never actually get started. And if they do, they lose momentum quickly because all their energy was spent on conversation instead of execution. When you tell people about your goals, you create an illusion of success. You feel productive, you feel motivated, and you feel like you're moving forward. But in reality, you're just satisfying your brain's need for recognition without doing the actual work. And when that feeling wears off, you're left with nothing but the same situation you started with. That's why the most successful people don't waste time talking about what they're going to do. They just do it. They don't need to announce every step. They don't need constant validation. They don't let their energy be drained by conversations that lead nowhere. Think about how many times you've told someone about a goal and then felt less motivated to actually follow through. The more you talk about it, the more you give yourself a false sense of progress. Meanwhile, the person who stays quiet, who focuses on the work instead of the talk, is the one who actually makes things happen. The moment you stop seeking validation, you take back your power. You stop relying on others to fuel your motivation. You stop wasting energy explaining yourself. Instead, you channel all that energy into action. And here's what happens when you do: you start making real progress. You stop overthinking and start executing. You stop worrying about opinions and start focusing on results. You move differently. You become unstoppable. So if you're serious about success, stop talking about it. Let go of the need to announce your plans. Stop giving yourself that temporary satisfaction of being praised for something you haven't even done yet. Because real success doesn't come from words, it comes from work. And when you finally achieve what you set out to do, you won't need to say a word. Your results will speak for themselves. Most people don't realize how much power they give away just by speaking too soon. Every time you talk about what you're going to do, you give others a chance to influence your direction, whether that influence is positive or negative. You might think that sharing your plans will motivate you, but more often than not, it does the opposite. It drains your energy, invites unnecessary opinions, and, worst of all, creates expectations that can weigh you down before you've even begun. When you keep things to yourself, you maintain control. You don't have to justify your decisions. You don't have to explain why you're doing what you're doing. You don't have to deal with other people's doubts, skepticism, or unsolicited advice. You move on your own terms at your own pace without distractions. One of the biggest traps people fall into is thinking that talking about their goals will help them stay accountable. They believe that if they tell others, they'll be more likely to follow through. But in reality, the opposite is true. The more you talk, the less you do. That's because talking creates a false sense of accomplishment. Your brain gets a small dopamine hit when you announce your plans, making you feel like you've already made progress, even when nothing has actually changed. And then, once you've shared your goal, you start to feel the pressure. Suddenly, people are watching. They're asking questions. How's that project going? When are you launching? Did you start yet? And instead of focusing on the work, you're now focused on managing expectations. You start second guessing yourself. You feel the weight of proving something to others rather than just doing it for yourself. This is why the smartest, most successful people move in silence. They don't waste energy explaining themselves. They don't get caught up in seeking approval. They don't let outside opinions dictate their path. They just put their heads down and do the work. And when they finally reveal what they've been working on, it's undeniable. Think about it. Some of the greatest breakthroughs, the biggest successes, and the most powerful moves happen in silence. Silence. The people making real progress aren't the ones constantly talking about their next step. They're the ones executing behind the scenes, staying focused, and letting the results do the talking. When you stop announcing your plans, you free yourself from distractions. You're no longer seeking validation. You're no longer worried about whether people believe in you. You're no longer wasting time explaining yourself. All of your energy goes into action, and that's when real transformation happens. And here's the best part: When you finally achieve your goal, you don't need to say a word. The results will speak for themselves. The people who doubted you, questioned you, or didn't take you seriously will have no choice but to acknowledge what you've done. And by then, it won't even matter because you'll already be winning. Silence is a weapon. In a world where everyone is obsessed with broadcasting their every move, the person who knows how to stay quiet holds all the power. The less you say, the more unpredictable you become. The more unpredictable you are, the harder it is for anyone to stop you. Most people don't realize that talking about their goals doesn't help them. It actually weakens them. Every time you share what you're going to do, you release a little bit of the energy that should be fueling your execution. You get a small rush from saying it out loud, and that rush tricks your brain into feeling like you've already made progress, but words are not action. Talking about a dream is not the same as building it. When you keep your plans to yourself, you maintain your power. You stay in control of your energy. You don't waste time explaining yourself. You don't give people the chance to fill your mind with doubt. Instead, you focus. You work in silence. You build something real while everyone else is just talking. Because here's the truth. When you announce your goals, you invite unnecessary obstacles. Some people will doubt you. Some will criticize you. Some will secretly hope you fail. Even those who love you might not understand what you're trying to do, and their well-meaning concerns can plant seeds of hesitation in your mind. But when you move in silence, none of that matters. You don't give people a chance to project their fears onto you. You don't waste energy trying to justify your dreams. You don't allow outside voices to distract you from what you know you need to do. And here's the thing, people respect results, not announcements. No one remembers what you said you were going to do. They only remember what you actually did. The loudest person in the room is rarely the most successful. The ones who truly make an impact are the ones who let their work speak for itself. Think about the most powerful moves in history, the biggest business deals, the greatest breakthroughs, the most legendary success stories. They weren't announced before they happened. They were built in silence. Then one day they were revealed, and the world had no choice but to take notice. That's how you need to operate. Stop explaining. Stop seeking approval. Stop letting your need for validation drain the energy you should be using to execute. Just do the work, build quietly, move strategically, stay focused. And when the time comes, let your success be so undeniable that you won't have to say a single word. The results will speak for themselves. And by then, it won't matter what anyone thought because you'll already be winning.